Okay. Nice. No, I don't know how to open the chat. Oh, fuck. Oh oui. Okay. Bonsoir, I love your channel. You mentioned once that you would suggest finding a Med 1 for Ivy League schools, and I was wondering if you could elaborate on how to go about finding one. Yeah, so I think I answered that question on my Instagram, but basically what you can do is you can go on the site of the Faculty of Medicine of the university you want to go to, okay? So you go on the site, not the site, the Facebook page, sorry, and then you check for their liked pages. And in their liked pages, you probably will have some association, medical student association web page, and you click on that and you go on their Facebook page, and then magic, everyone on that page, or most of them, are medical students, and many of the medical students are who get involved in those kinds of associations are Med 1s. So you can politely go and ask them if they can help you out. And yeah, you can message a few, and for sure one of them is gonna answer. They're really nice usually, and they have time. So that's that. Any other questions? It's good because you guys are two, so I can actually answer all of your questions in one shot. Or I can also go, I don't know if I have my Instagram here. What can I tell you about? Okay, tips on how to be more self-aware in preparing for applications, interviews. That's super good. Like, by self-aware, what do you mean? Like knowing what you look like, or knowing how to answer the questions in a more personal way? I feel I'm struggling in terms of being aware of my strengths and limitations. Okay, so that's a big thing, and it was a big thing for me too. Where I started was I started by doing personality tests. I don't know if you know about the Enneagram or the Myers-Briggs, but there are free personality tests on the internet, and you can look at those, because when you do the test, they give you your personality, and naturally you're gonna see yourself in that, okay? And they give you the strength of the personality and the weaknesses of the personality. Some of them will be more intense in you than others. Oh, sorry, my dog. Okay, so some of them are gonna be more intense than others, and you can note them down. The other thing you can do is that you can look at your CV and naturally look at what you did a lot, and that shows what you like. You know what I mean? So if you're someone who worked at a soup kitchen for 3 years, then probably you're someone who gets a lot of pleasure out of just helping people, and maybe you like food too, you know? Also, how to prepare to speak confidently and clearly during your interviews to clearly communicate what I'd like to convey. Okay, that was a thing for me too, because I guess I was so stressed out that sometimes my English was a bit so-so. So what I did was, I wish I brought them, but I bought a book on Amazon it's about medical school interviews, okay? And it's about $50. It's so good. In that book, you have hundreds of potential questions in different types of categories, okay? And I would go through all the questions, put the question on a cue card, and on the back, I would have my printed out personality test, and I would have my CV. Okay, and I would answer the question on the back of the cue card with those things in mind, and then I would just practice the heck out of it. I mean, I practiced so much, I would know them by heart. Before going to sleep, I promised myself that I would go through as much cards in my head without looking at it as much as I could, and I remember getting out of bed because I was like, I don't remember this one. Okay, so I was really diligent with that. The other thing I did was I practiced with people. So it's not the time to be shy, it's not the time to just wing it. Don't do it, okay? Just face your fears, ask people, ask your parents, ask your friends who have a job where they interview people, ask your guidance counselor, ask your friends, okay? Like I said, it's not the time to be shy. You just have to practice, 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 and I would film myself. So I filmed myself alone answering the questions, and I looked at where my eyes were when I was answering. I looked at how I was moving my hands. I looked at my intonation, and sometimes I watched myself again, and I would fix it. The other thing that I found was super helpful, and now that I've graduated, I know that's really important, is that, do you guys hear me well, or there's too much echo? Because I can move. Do you guys hear me well? Or there's too much echo? Well? Yes, she said yes. Okay, good. So the other thing I realized that was super important, and I would tell everyone that I knew was doing the med school interview, is that it doesn't matter what you say. It's what matters, okay, is the message you're trying to convey, okay, and how you get there. And that's super important in medicine, and it's a quality they're looking for. So they want to know if you are message driven when you communicate, or you are words driven, which is totally different. Because if you are message driven, the way you're gonna talk is more straight to the point, and you're gonna look at the people in the room to see if they're nonverbal communication, to see if they're understanding, and you're gonna adjust yourself to it. Okay, Explain what again? How to communicate well? Okay, I can explain that again, how to communicate well. Okay, so one thing to practice before your interview is not exactly what you're gonna say, because that's very important for sure. But you want to make sure, okay, that you are message driven, okay? Message driven. So when you talk, it's not about the words you say, it's about where you're going. And every time you say a sentence, a word, you're getting closer to that message. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's super important, because in medicine, that's how we talk. And in a colloquial way, that's not how people talk, okay? And that is not something that I'm born with. It's something that I've acquired, okay? And it's something you can see in my videos. I have a tendency to just, okay, that's creepy, Jim, but thank you. So I have a tendency to add a lot of information when I'm talking, fluffy information to make it interesting, right? But when you talk for a medical school interview or in medical terms, you really, really need to be straight to the point. That is awesome. Okay, thank you. That is awesome. I will definitely do that. I'm also feeling nervous about doing the interview on Zoom. I feel like I'm talking to an empty void. Yeah, okay. So, so I'm gonna answer both of your questions. Yes, on Zoom or on camera, it's a bit different, because you have to be just that little bit extra to get your point across, and not only your point, but your enthusiasm about the subject, about the school. And that's important, because they want to know if you're sure about going into medicine and you're sure about what you say. They want to see that you're genuine about it. And when you're talking to a screen, you really have to be a little bit extra. But don't be too extra, because nobody likes extraness that much, okay? Another thing I could say, because I took a Zoom class, a how to present on Zoom class. So, like, let's say the camera is here, okay? First of all, set your desk to be standing, okay? Standing. Second thing you need to know is you need to put a light behind the camera, you need to put a light behind your computer, okay, or be in front of the window. The problem with being in front of the window is you may be distracted if you're like me, okay? So there's a light, and you're up like this. The second thing you want to do is to lean forward a little bit, because I'll show you. If I'm sitting normal, this is me. If I'm leaning forward, this is me. I'm way more interested just by doing that. The second thing is you need to use your hands, but normally I would use my hands here to talk, but since I'm on screen, I need to put them up a little bit. But you don't want to be like this, okay? They need to see your hands too. And you might want to rethink also your attire, but I haven't done any Zoom interview, but I would think that since you don't have the entire outfit with the shoes, okay, they don't see your shoes, so you don't want to seem underdressed, because that is disrespectful. And your appearance is important. No, it's not superficial. It has to do with the way people perceive you, and in the medical profession, it's super important to be perceived professionally. So yeah, I would put a blazer. I would make sure that I have like a collar, and I would put extra attention like in my hair being well groomed and having nice makeup, but not too much. So yeah, I would also practice. I cannot say it enough. When you practice with your friends, don't practice in real life. Practice on Zoom. Zoom is your home now, okay? The way you communicate, the way you think, it's all through Zoom, and you need to practice that way of thinking, because there's no excuse. If you fuck up on the day of the interview because you're not used to Zoom, then yeah, they won't take that into account. Okay, another question. I'm not wearing, no, I had another question. Is it really stressful or are they like friends with you? So it is very, shut up, huh? I don't understand. So there is, okay, so there is, it is very stressful, but usually all the people are really have different roles within your interview. So I don't know if you're doing a panel interview or if it's still the mini multiple interviews. Can you? Anyways, okay, so I don't know how it would work if it was mini mental interviews. Sorry. So I don't know if it would how it would work if it would be like different situations, but it would be very interesting to know how many people are on the panel when you're going to do the interview, because each person has a different role and each person has represents a different part of the healthcare system. For instance, usually you will have one medical doctor, you will have sometimes medical students or residents, you will have maybe nurses, and you may have a layperson, okay? Layperson is a word for just saying someone that is non-medical. And each person will have a different temperament, and sometimes one of the people have a mission to be a little bit hard on you and shake you up a little bit and see how you react. Oh, that's good for you. Going to Harvard, good luck. Apparently, it's very difficult to get in, especially with the, I think you're USMLE. Are you from, I guess you're from the States. But yeah, USMLE is difficult. Okay, other questions, guys? Maybe study tips, anything you want. Tips for how to stay on top of coursework. Okay, so that's very difficult for me. And do you want to know? Okay, so specifically for medicine, it's very difficult. Because yes, I am French, but I'm not French from France, but I'm French from Canada. Okay. Yay, Kyla! Quebec. Okay, so how to stay on top of coursework? It's very difficult in medicine because you technically will never be able to know everything, even within the same semester, the same unit even, okay, or same course, because it's just endless. So I would say that something that's important is just to have a game plan and to learn to follow it, and to understand that to be able to follow that game plan and for it to be sustainable and for you to be able to run the marathon, because medical school is a marathon, it is not a sprint, you need to carve out time for physical exercise, for mental relaxation, spirituality, sleep, groceries, cleaning your apartment and everything. Carve it out like it was your job, okay? So I was doing block scheduling, so I would put it on my to-do list and on my schedule, and I will respect it as much as my schoolwork, because I know that one cannot work without the other. I struggle a bit while preparing my applications with balancing being realistic with being positive and manifesting the future I want to achieve. I really understand that, okay? I understand that fear and I understand being realistic. However, there are some times in life that realism is useful and sometimes when it's not. For instance, now, when you're thinking about medical school, it is not a time to be realistic. Because there's so many little people that get in that if you were realistic, You wouldn't get in. You would believe that you wouldn't because most people don't, right? That's realist. But I strongly recommend that you forget all of that, okay, and you really concentrate on feeling, breathing, dreaming the medical school life, okay? You are that medical student that got into medical school. You are that person in the past, okay? So imagine yourself as that person and understand that right now you're only the past version of the same person, okay? So if that person is gonna be accepted in March of 2021, you are just that same person in November 2020. So yeah, that's the law of attraction. Law of attraction is just a word, but I think that what people fail to understand about the law of attraction is that it's all about imagination. It's all about tricking your brain and rewiring itself and believing that you are something that you are not in the present moment. Good, I'm happy it clicked for you. Yeah, so when I got in, I just, you know what? I told myself I had